Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about a couple different things. One of the things we're going to talk about is the importance of a name or identity within this creation in which we exist, and how, like in society, you have your name, your reputation, your identity, if you will, as a member of society. Most cases at the moment where you're even born in society, you're given a social identity, if you will, at that level as well. And I won't go deeper too much into what is identity, but I'll bring out the fundamental concepts here as it relates to yoga. So in yoga or spiritual practice, you also eventually get to a point when you can question your identity and give yourself an identity, right? So at that point, what do you identify as, for example? And at that point, that can be long, that can be short and detailed, and believe me, it's always very long. And at the same time, fascinating, but a lot, it's complex. So people can identify as different in different ways at different times in their life. Okay, in yoga, once you basically um, you have the concept, when you initially begin your pursuit, I guess you could identify as a pursuer of knowledge or something like that, right? You could definitely do that. However, what you're looking at more realistically, at one point is more realistically in its determination that this is who you are, instead of who you identify as. At that point, there has to be something supporting who you are. Okay, so you support it by something. Once you become enlightened, for example, then you can identify as I am an enlightened being, okay, or something like that. And then there's identification based on factual evidence, if you will, factual truth. Okay, and there's some that are very interesting as information in themselves, but that are not necessarily true. Okay, so um, creating an identity for yourself, and then you can question, well, if I give it to myself, it's true, no matter if it's true or not true. Yeah, sure. And we won't go too deep into identity because that's a long one. We can talk about that for hours. So creating in yoga a name for yourself. What I wanted to basically say. So you create your name for yourself at that time when you become, if you want, a seeker, if you want, a spiritual seeker on the path of Zen Wara, or any other path that you choose to follow. Then you also have, once you've achieved, once you've attained, once you remembered who you are, then you can identify as who you are within the story. Because what happens is there's the importance of creating a name in your identity. That's important, right? As a sense of self. Because eventually, it's not ego or anything like that. It's basically we live within a story, and within the story, everybody has their ultimate basically spiritual development storyline built into their story that they're able to achieve in their lifetime, okay, if they do the right things at the right and all that, right? So at that point, have you ever heard the concept of sudden enlightenment and things like that, or whatever, right? So you do have that ability for everyone to basically follow that spiritual development storyline that's built into their story and can lead them to, for example, finding who they really are, right? Who they really are. And you're the person you're born into, you're the person you're born, your parents gave you a name and all that, yeah. But you're also something else within the story, as far as you can go back. And I guess you can really learn that when you experience that. And that's what I'm saying for the purpose of identity, what you've experienced, who you are as what you've experienced, and not necessarily who you are as to how you think or something like that, although they are all related. And I can go on and on and on that. We won't do that. So, okay, so everybody has their story, that's a spiritual story that's built into their story, and they can embark upon it and take that at any time, and that can lead to wonderful results such as enlightenment, things like that. And at that point, you can know who you really are within the story too. So you might, for example, go through a big process or something like that, of enlightenment or something like that, and you realize that you're a Buddha, right? And then whether you said before, I am a Buddha, yes, okay, you have Buddha nature, and then once you become enlightened, you can consider yourself a Buddha in body. If you're enlightened in body, and then you're got enlightened out of body, right? So because the enlightened ones exist at another level that's outside of the body, right? Once you become enlightened, it's like you go up a level in your effect on creation and all that. You enter in the enlightened field where this enlightened symbols go, and basically work on the development of their little part of the story, if you will. Okay, so okay, so everybody has their story. Everybody can become a Buddha, all that stuff. Now, find out. I've got some notes here. Oh, that's right. That's right. Find out who you are and become what you are destined to be. That's my final note. Okay, so on that note, it really, I suggest going for it. Try the spiritual path. Try Zen Wara. Look at different traditions, different cultures. Look everywhere. Everyone should be inclusive of everyone else, and the valid information is everywhere around you. You can look at anything at any given moment in time, you can practice that spiritual practice at that time, without anything else in any situation, you know. And that's a good way to pass the time too, when you're low, when you're bored, lonely, something like that. You're in a bad spot, you're alone, maybe you're not able to get out of this building or something like that. You can practice, in a very confined space, Zenwara, sitting, moving meditation to move, practicing the mind, all that, and reaching a goal, giving yourself a goal, because you're like, well, if I practice this enough, I could achieve great things, and that's very true. So, um, in a way, I think it's one of those things that should be shared with everybody, right? So if you listen to these videos, I say share these videos with people who am I, basically, and maybe I'll add that to the title of this video. I think I will. Who am I, right? I've got this long, super long name in the description of this channel, and sometimes I play around with it and I change it from one way to another or something like that. I don't necessarily identify with a name, and that's another way of identification. However, it's a very impractical one. So when it comes to a name, I use the one that's given to me by society. Okay. Right. My first name is Raphael, and that's the name I go by. Now, what are the other names? The other names are basically who I am within the story. Okay, and names that I don't identify with as strongly, although I do very strongly identify with Shiva. Okay, so at that point, who am I really? I'm just a man. Okay, yeah, I've attained all these things through meditation practice, okay, that I talk about in the videos on my channel. I'm just a man. I'm just a regular person, with a lot of bad habits, and a lot of good ones too. Doing his best like everybody else is, okay? But I came with a message, basically that's what I wanted to share, the truth of my experience of enlightenment, and basically who I am, what identity I have, and basically how I took that path in the spiritual development storyline of mine, and basically incorporated that into my story as it unfolds. So thanks everyone for listening, and have a great one.